Venus and star blessings. Welcome back, everybody. I haven't seen you for about a week, I think, maybe a few days. Hoping you are all doing well and that you are staying on top of the game, so to speak. So today I want to talk about the conjunction between Pluto and Mars in Aquarius. And I might bring in Venus in Aquarius as well, which takes place tomorrow. I was thinking of coming back and doing another video on that, but I'm not sure. I'll see how I go. Okay, so where to begin? Where to begin? I guess I just want to perhaps speak from my heart, like I always do. And it's an interesting arrangement of of energies at the moment. Coco agrees. Whoops. Aquarius is the highlight, at the moment on every single level. Aquarius is such an interesting sign. And even though, we experience the sun in Aquarius every year, and, people have natal planets in Aquarius and so on and so forth, we are literally living the most extraordinary, revolutionary times of our existence. There's no two ways about that. It's obvious, it's abundantly clear on every single level. Now, let's just recap on some of the characteristics of Aquarius. So first of all, Aquarius, of course, is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. And if you're a Hellenistic traditional astrologer, you might stick to Saturn's rulership more, and you might be one of those people that says, Saturn is the ruler and Uranus is the co-ruler. That's fine. Everybody can view it as they wish. Personally, I believe, and have seen that both Saturn and Uranus absolutely rule Aquarius, and both just show up or manifest or express in different ways. I tend to see both equally as powerful, but for different reasons. So Aquarius is a sign of the mind. It is an air sign. I'm just going to close this door. So it's the last air sign in the wheel of the air signs. So it's the most advanced level of the air quality, right? We have Gemini is the first one, Libra is the next one, Aquarius is the last one. These elements, throughout the wheel are so extremely important for so many different reasons. We tend to forget to think about that, because there's a natural sort of evolution and unfoldment and progression of all the signs through the elements. And so from that perspective, when we look at Aquarius, it is at the most advanced level. It's the last air sign. There's no more air to go. After Aquarius, it's Pisces, end of the wheel, and we begin again. So Aquarius does really come from that mental sphere or space. And it has to do with objectivity, clarity, detachment, objectifying reality in order to detach from the personal perspective on things, so that we can get a clearer picture, a broader, clear perspective, illuminated perspective, and objective perspective on whatever we are looking at. So any planet in the sign of Aquarius, in some way, shape, or form, ultimately seeks to do this. And at the moment, we have an absolute abundance of planets in the archetype of Aquarius. And given the point in history we are in, the times that we are in, we must always consider, because see, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we know, was about 247-48 years ago, right? The French Revolution, right? That was, that's one of the biggest things that stands out from that time. it is absolutely clear that we are going through, again, we are going through revolutions, the most necessary revolutions. And revolutions don't come up, they don't come through in a gifted box. They come through cataclysmic events. But, life was different back then, and it's very different now. So we must always apply the basic is, of course, the mythological, psychological, spiritual, astrological correspondence and significators to all the archetypes, but we must apply that to the time we are in. Life was very different then, it's very different now. So as I was saying, detachment, objectivity, it is an archetype that corresponds to one's individuality, one's unique individuality. Matters of justice, liberation, freedom, individuation, which is a term that Carl Jung coined, of course. So, these are all significators or characteristics really beaming through the divinities at the moment relative to the tropical zodiac. The sidereal or Babylonian zodiac, which is another level of looking at things, is just as valuable, just as powerful, and just as effective in translating what's actually happening on the earth as well. So one of my viewers made a comment recently, and I've heard people voice the same question or the same curiosity, which is, well, which zodiac do I use? Which one is correct? They're both correct. They are both correct. They are both active, both as powerful, both as valuable. One doesn't negate the other. Let me just make that clear. However, my focus, at least for the most part, and certainly for today, is through the tropical lens. So Aquarius invites us into an understanding that broadens the scope of our perspective from an objective, clear point of view. It asks us to get out of our personal things, personal ideas, judgments, beliefs, whatever it is, and sort of, remove those layers and stand in an objective space to get a fresh, clear view of what we are seeing from a non-personal position. When we are very personal about something, it is a fact that it is much harder to be truly objective and to truly see the bigger picture and to truly see both sides to any situation. So we must employ, objectivity and detachment to take away the personal layers that would activate or trigger very intense one-sided perspectives or very intense emotions that are connected to something deeper within us, be it from this life or be it from past lifetimes. It's not an easy thing to do, but I'm just bringing it up as something that we can think about while all these planets journey through the archetype of Aquarius. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll just bring up the chart so we can get some visuals going on, which is just sometimes, just more useful to visually look at things. Okay, so what chart have I brought up? Chart for today. It's my brother's birthday, so shout out to my brother Alexander. May he have a wonderful solar return. Okay, so here we are. Venus is still in Capricorn. A couple of days' time, she'll be in Aquarius, joining the Aquarian gang up here. So there's Pluto, of course, in Aquarius. Mars just recently ingressed into Aquarius. Mercury also recently ingressed into Aquarius, and the Sun did as well. So, you know, a profound Aquarian portal, unlike anything we've ever seen in our lifetime. And it started, and I've said this several times, it started from when the Sun first entered Aquarius and formed a conjunction to Pluto. That particular conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius has not been seen for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It did not take place the last time Pluto was in Aquarius. Just keep that in mind. That's a huge, significant factor in the revolutions, revelations, and evolutions we are seeing on the planet at the moment. We had the portal of Pluto conjunct Mercury. I've spoken on that either in, I can't remember if I've spoke about it in a video or in some posts, but I have touched on it. And, you know, the primary takeaway with the Pluto Mercury conjunction, and this is going to be evident really through all the planets moving through Aquarius, forming a conjunction to Pluto, which is about uncovering and revealing the depths of anything we are looking at, anything we are embodying with, anything we are experiencing, anything we are perceiving. And in Mercury, of course, it's the exposure of and the uncovering of things that have been hidden. Now, obviously, from a collective perspective, that's huge, because we are all very, very aware that there have been you know, so many lies, so much propaganda, so much intentional, deliberate deception for very specific agendas to be implemented, right? And so, you know, with Mercury-Pluto conjunction, there has been a lot of exposure and revealing of things, things being uncovered, things reappearing from the past. You know, there was a Palestinian media individual who I spoke about, who at the time there were allegations that he was abducted. The story around that is still relatively unclear for reasons that have to do with this individual's safety. My point being that when Pluto and Mercury formed the conjunction, after being missing for 14 days, this individual reappeared, and he communicated to the world a few things, but he couldn't go into full detail of what had actually happened for reasons of his safety and his family's safety. So there's really, you know, the matters that are going on, the things that we are seeing are so intense, so shocking, so horrific. It's literally like watching a horror movie, you know, 24/7. That's literally what it is, you know. I wrote something about Palestine yesterday, and somebody made a comment because I was talking about liberation and you know, freeing the oppressed and so on and so forth. And somebody said, well, you know, what about freeing the whole world? Yeah, of course. You know, of course the whole world has to be free. And, you know, hopefully that will happen with this Pluto and Aquarius passage over the next 20 years. I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be huge things overturned, and the power of the people is going to speak. It already is. But, you know, it's the old classic Saturn versus Uranus, right? Systems, you know, versus the truth, anything that's outside of the consensus reality, which normally gets, you know, shut down and limited and restricted and blocked and annihilated. There's always that conflict between those two archetypes, but we are seeing it at such a ramped up level. So, you know, Mercury conjunct Pluto, I even had some personal revelations and discoveries just with things that have to do with computers, emails, you know, things that were not working. I just randomly uncovered things that I'd been struggling to work out or find. It's just quite an amazing portal, even just from that everyday basic mundane level. So anyway, Pluto, Mercury has moved away from Pluto, but the interesting thing is that Mercury is coming up to a square with Uranus. So, of course, Mars is going to square Uranus as well, and so is Venus. So we are getting this, these cycle upon cycle upon cycle of where the voice of Prometheus, Uranus, Aquarius, the archetype and the voice of that vibration is amplified to the hilt on the earth at the moment. And that is being seen through the millions of voices that are speaking up on numerous humanitarian issues, issues of justice, fairness, and equality across the board, basically. There's just an absolute ramp up of all this. Mars, Pluto, that's, never underestimate the power of Mars, Pluto, whether it's an aspect that you have in your own chart or whether it's a collective transit. Now, the last time Mars and Pluto were conjunct in Aquarius was in the 1700s. So again, life was different then, life is different now. Look at the backdrop of where this is playing out, relative to Palestine. I'm not scared to speak on Palestine. I don't care if, people are offended or don't want to listen to my videos anymore. I don't care, because I have a moral compass of speaking to what is right, what is good, not what, not creating this, fake sort of, how can I put it? Somebody said it really well. I saw this little clip on TikTok earlier today. I wish I could remember her exact words. It's just so well put. Basically, she was just pointing out that, how we, as humans, as a human family, we have a duty. We have a duty of care for ourselves and for humanity. We have a duty to speak, right, on the voices that can't, or for the voices that can't. Whether it's happening in Palestine or whether it's happening in Australia or whether it's happening wherever it's happening, we must unite and speak. Otherwise, what have we actually arrived to within ourselves, within this, living in this earth, on this earth plane as a human family? What's going on inside our consciousness that we can become so desensitized and be okay with a genocide? It's not okay. Whether it's, as I said, it happens to be happening where it's happening. People need to actually get really objective about this shit, right? And stop actually projecting their, coming from a space of belief, ideology, culture, religion. You need to put all that shit aside and just step into objective, clear perspective on truth. If your family was being murdered, would you not speak up on that? Would you not have a reaction to that? We need to pull back, on our personal ideologies and beliefs and opinions and judgments, and just think of this as human beings, which is what they are. So it doesn't matter where it's happening. I would still have the same passion, the same desire to stand for truth, no matter to what culture or country or peoples this was happening to. Now, these things have been going on, for thousands of years. It's not that this is an entirely unique and new thing, but what's unique about it is the point in history that we are in at the moment, from the point of view of all these Aquarian energies and everything that's happened around that, you know, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 Aquarius back in 2020, you know, all these things lining up over a gradual period unfolding, right? Which is ultimately about our own awakening and evolution, because the old Earth has died and there is a new Earth being born. And we can either catch up with that, or we can just try and hang on to that past dead reality and live in a distorted or disillusioned life story. As everything changes, we too change. That's the whole point of being here, for us to change, to grow, to develop, to evolve. So when you have an array of, you know, Aquarian archetypal energies amplified, Aquarius, as I said, it always takes us back into standing into a space where we can actually be really objective and see things very, very clearly. It is about individuation. It is about authenticity. It is about, you know, breaking off the shackles of systems that only serve a certain amount of people. You know, the majority of people are not served by these systems. No one's benefiting from these bigger giants in play doing what they're doing. No one's benefiting from it. That's a fact. There was a comment here that I wanted to say. So it's a funny thing with Aquarius, because it can have a few different sort of variations and expressions. You know, with this Mars-Pluto conjunction, the vibration of Aquarius through either Venus, Mars, of course, Pluto, and even the other inner planets, it's a very intense vibration, the Aquarian vibration, as the planets move through this particular archetype. You know, you might not think that the word intense connects to Aquarius, because Aquarius is not intense. Scorpio is intense, right? But it's an intense vibration that's trying to speak through these portals. That intense vibration is the people. Aquarius is the people. It always is. It always has been. It always will be. So with Mars, Pluto, first of all, Mars is the higher octave of Pluto. Both Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. So we are talking about the soul of the entire human family, and we are talking about our own soul individually. And we are talking about an integration and alignment. Mars, Pluto conjunct in Aquarius. Integration, alignment with our personal desires, Mars, aligning with the soul's desires, Pluto. Because normally Mars will just want to go on a rampage and do his own thing. It's a very personal planet, Mars. It corresponds to our own personal desires, which can be very, very selfish. We can see the selfishness across the board. We can see it. Oh, yesterday I was talking about, you know, most of the world, let's say, is sitting in their little comfort zone while certain groups of people are being annihilated. And, you know, it just boggles my mind. It boggles my mind how people can ignore it, deny it, shut it down, not care. To me, that's selfish. If we're just caring about our own backyard and our own home and that's it, that's selfish. And Aquarius reminds us that there's a whole human family here. We're not here alone. So Mars, Pluto, being the rulers of Scorpio, that intensity of Pluto, soul energy, the depth of the soul, the depth of the actual truth on things is what we are feeling and sensing and instinctively sensing around us as expressed through Aquarius, right? In other words, instinctively sensing and seeing and knowing a deeper truth to what's being presented in humanity at the moment. So Mars, Pluto, of course, you know, at that egotistic personality basic level, can be used as a force for severe destruction, selfish personal gain. But in Aquarius, it is asking us to not just use this energy for our own personal gain, but rather to stand and speak and fight for truth, justice, fairness, freedom, equality, liberation for everybody. Because if one is oppressed over here, then everybody else here is not free. And if you don't understand that, you need to just look at history and stop, you know, putting your blinkers on your eyes and get real about this reality and what's been playing out and what is playing out at the moment. Think about when back in the 60s, actually, I'll get to that because it's more related to Venus, but just going back to Mars. So Mars in Aquarius can also be a great facilitator in igniting in others the courage to, again, stand for justice, freedom, equality, and so forth. The Mars in Aquarius souls, you know, they will rebel against the status quo. And the other thing about Aquarius that's really, really interesting is that a person might tap into this energy and they may find that, you know, everything around them and their tribe and their people around them are just not on the same page, not getting it. And so that soul that does get it, that is more awakened, that is more aware, that actually is interested in what's happening to the world and what's happening to humanity. Instead of, this is a more evolved soul, let's say, instead of just staying with the status quo and sticking to the safety group for fear of not being accepted, not being liked, or being judged, or whatever it is, being excluded and so forth, because a lot of souls will have that perspective, which is the Saturn level of things, right? It's security. No, security first and foremost. I'm not going to rock that boat. I'm not going to, you know, explore that because it's going to rock my safety. And so some of these souls that are more evolved, what they will do is they literally will stand as a group on their own. That's Mars in Aquarius, right? It can be connecting to a group, a soul tribe, the entire human race, or it can just be being a group of yourself, as it were, because the matter of representing and standing for truth and justice and fairness and equality is much more important than one's own personal sense of security, safety, and personal gain, right? So with Mars, Pluto, these are some of the themes that are intensely activated within us individually and collectively as well. It is it's a new phase conjunction. So as Mars, moves around the chart, it will form different aspects, and it will come to, its first quarter square, its opposition, last quarter square, etc., right, as Mars goes through his journey. But this is a new phase conjunction. So it's a brand new portal, a brand new energy, one of which that we haven't experienced since the 1700s, right? So it is a powerful energy for initiation of our personal will with our highest will, Pluto. Personal will, Mars, highest will, Pluto. It is an initiation with our personal will, highest will, to embark on an authentic journey from that Mars-Pluto perspective. That is, what are we doing with our actions? What are our desires? Aquarius, because it's ruled by Uranus, it also corresponds to, because it corresponds to the path of individuation, which just basically means being authentic, being real, as opposed to being fake, non-authentic, for the purposes of security, safety, fear of the unknown, fear of being out of control, and so forth. Uranus is the unknown. There's no security there. That's why most people don't go there. But like I said at the very beginning, all these planets are going to square Uranus as well. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So it obviously speaks to revolutions collectively and our own internal revolutions for the purposes of becoming individuated. Now, becoming individuated doesn't happen overnight. It takes lifetimes. It's a process. But these energies invite us, they give us the opportunity to step into a path of individuation if we haven't, or further progress. And progress is a great word for Aquarius, because even Mars in Aquarius, it is about action and desires and goals, and how we are going to exert our energy and focus and drive, and what we are going to do for the purposes of the future, because Aquarius is a progressive sign. So all these things that are going on, it's progressively moving us into the future, into a new earth, a new reality, a new life. But imagine layers of conditioned systems, perspectives, beliefs, thoughts, values. Imagine layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of that conditioned in our own psyche. How can a new earth be born? And how can we progress unless we clear the debris that's lying in our own psyche? We must clear it. To clear it, it has to be shaken up so that you can see it, so that we can move through it. Because otherwise it just remains suppressed or unconscious, and we can't move forward when there's this all these layers underneath that haven't been cleared yet. So this clearing and these layers that I'm talking about, they're in every single one of us, and they are being activated through the events that are going on the earth. Our response and our reaction to what is going on is part and parcel of our own consciousness, of our own inner awakening that is bigger than just ourselves. It's about everybody. again, that's an Aquarian thing, to be concerned, to care, to be interested in the human family, the human race, not just our own personal agenda and what we are trying to create personally. There's nothing wrong with personal creativity, don't get me wrong. We all need to have personal creativity and personal experiences and personal feelings and personal expressions and all of that, right? Of course. But there's a flip side to that coin, because what I just mentioned there is actually Leo, the archetype of Leo. So it's necessary, isn't it? Because Leo is in the wheel of the zodiac. It's there for a reason. It draws us back into our heart center with that personal, creative love and expression. That's important. But what's equally important is Aquarius, the opposite sign to Leo, which is what helps us create a sense of understanding the bigger picture, understanding the collective, understanding humanity, understanding that it's not just about my own personal gratification. It's not just about my own personal needs. There's something more important here. There's something bigger. Aquarius. So progressive transformation is a great word actually for Pluto conjunct Mars. Progressive transformation. I think a lot of the personal transformative windows and journeys that we are each, experiencing at the moment, we're all experiencing it in different ways. We all have different feelings about different things and different perspectives and so on and so forth. But Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, it is pushing us forward. It's propelling us forward. It's progressive transformation. So things might happen, a lot faster. Suddenly things are just moving and shifting so quickly that we can barely catch our breath. I think there's a strong sense of that going on as well, certainly collectively and for us individually as well. Now, of course, a lot of this for you individually will depend on where this is playing out in your own birth chart. That's a big deal. For me, all this is happening on my ascendant, right on my ascendant. And I can tell you now, it's it's super intense. I had this really crystal clear, bizarre, almost out-of-body experience yesterday. Well, it was out-of-body experience, but I was awake and aware of what was going on. And it wasn't induced, so I didn't try to create this moment. I didn't prepare for it. It just happened while I was at the gym, basically when I was doing, after I finished training and I was doing some yoga stretching, and I was just really centered into this breath work and quiet zone of just stretching. And I had this out-of-body experience. I had this flash in my mind, and flashes are ruled by Uranus. And I've got Aquarius rising, so Uranus is the ruler to my ascendant, and all these planets are right on my ascendant. So it makes sense that I had this experience, because the ascendant is your physical body. And I had this out-of-body experience where, without going into the details of it all, it was a clear vision. It's like I had a flash of my whole life played in front of me, and that I was standing outside looking at everything. And literally just happened in just a stream of seconds. And it wasn't scary. It's hard to describe how it felt, but it felt good, if I can just use that very simple word. I was so clear about my purpose and my life journey and everything that I'd been through and why I'd been through what I'd been through and where I am right now. It was the most extraordinary experience, I've got to tell you. So that was part of, for me, part of what's happening with all this, all these planets in Aquarius right on my ascendant. And so I'm sharing that with you because something similar might occur in your own journey, depending on where these planets are. So in summary, with Pluto Mars, progressive transformation. So things happening suddenly, quickly, unexpectedly, that really speak to a future that we are all moving towards, right? Of course, the darker side of this Mars-Pluto conjunction is aggression and violence, right, between certain groups and communities, which we know, which is happening, right? In some cases, it's happening in a manner that there's no logic, there's no rationale, there's no moral compass, there's no justice, there's nothing right about it legally. It's unfathomable in my own consciousness how this is playing out. There's that side. And then the other side that I think about is the more uplifting, let's say, side of it, which is you have to really detach from what is activated inside you when you care about humanity, when you care about people being tortured or killed or whatever it is, when you actually care about that, because I do. I have to detach from that to be able to see these other things that I can see. And the most obvious, of course, is that the world, now the whole world, is so aware of things that have been going on for such a long time that people were clueless about. So that's a real positive, because if you look at the amount of people that do stand with the people that are being killed, there's people on every part of the globe, in every walk of life. There's millions of them everywhere. So, this is part of the collective awakening. This is part of the collective evolution. This is part of, old systems dying. And in order for old systems to die, what's been embedded and conditioned and been going on and going on and going on for a long time, it has come to its end. It can no longer continue in the way that it has. It's as simple as that. And we have we have a say in this. That's the whole point. Mercury in Aquarius conjunct Pluto, the voice of the people. Mars conjunct Pluto, the will of the people. Venus coming up to this triple conjunction with Pluto and Mars. And it's at 6 degrees of Aquarius, I believe. Let me just, I've gone past it. Okay. So let me just bring that up for you and show you what that looks like. Now that's not exact because Venus is 38 minutes, Mars is 45, but that's close enough. You get the gist of it, right? So there's that triple conjunction there, which I've had my eye on it for over 18 months because I was aware that it was coming up, and I've just had it simmering inside me, as it were. Knowing that it's coming up, because it's for me personally, it feels like such an important window because it's right on my ascendant. And that will be the case for all of us. It will be somewhere in our chart. It's a very personal energy on that level. And so it's Mars, Venus. It's the two greatest lovers in the sign of Aquarius with Pluto. Venus in Aquarius is a really, really interesting placement, actually, really interesting. And I've seen it play out in these extreme ways as well, which I'm about to speak to. Because Venus, of course, corresponds to our values and what we value in life, in love, in relationships, in things we enjoy, in all that sort of stuff. In Aquarius, she's acting in a very different way to what Venus would normally act, because Venus is a planet that speaks to connection, right? It's wanting to connect with people from the heart and from the body, the senses, all of that. But in Aquarius, she will push everything sort of aside, and she will detach herself from traditional value systems that belong to the consensus reality. And she does that in order to find her own uniqueness and her own unique values. In that process, she will rebel, against a lot of different things. Even though it's Venus, she will rebel in Aquarius. And again, the motivation behind that, or the instigation behind that, is that she wants to find her own worth, her own individuality, her own unique values. And that could be through particular soul tribe of people, that could be through particular relationships, but she's not uncomfortable in being alone, Venus in Aquarius. Aquarius is one sign that is, it's a bizarre conundrum, if you like, because on the one hand, it is the archetype that will bring us into an awareness of humanity, finding a particular tribe or community that we may connect with. And on the other hand, or at the same time, Aquarius is the one that can stand alone, completely alone, but feel united with everybody as well. It's an extraordinary archetype on that level. And I know this not just through theory. I know it because I've got a moon in Aquarius and I've got an ascendant in Aquarius, and I can totally relate with what I just said. I can be so detached and just observe things from a distance, and at the same time I have this tremendous passionate love for the whole human family. So I think with Venus and Mars, in Aquarius, with Pluto here, I think we're going to go through a very personal, again, progressive, transformative journey of our own self-worth and values. I think we're going to find new things in ourself that we actually value. And I think Mars is going to bring in the courage factor, because that's what Mars is. It's courage. So it's the courage to stand in your own authenticity and value your own individuality, even if it just stands completely apart and completely separate from everybody else. Aquarius is about being authentic, being the unique individual that you are, without the fear of all the different things that people have in their mind, conditioned, imprinted perspectives and beliefs and thoughts in their mind about what they should or should not be doing, or who they should be or who they shouldn't be. That is an informed position by what is dictated from the consensus and the majority. That's not taking a unique stance in your own individuality. That's called conforming. And Venus in Aquarius is anything but conforming to the status quo. And it's an interesting dynamic, because Venus, of course, she likes to keep peace. So she doesn't really like to disrupt the status quo, because her primary her primary position is to establish peace and keep the peace. But in Aquarius, she doesn't give a shit about fake peace. She's more interested in actually just finding her own unique expression, her own unique values that align and integrate with her soul, with who she is. And what I'm saying is, with this Mars-Pluto, I feel there's going to be a massive transformative process for all of us individually with these kinds of themes in our relationships and, you know, our creative processes, who we are showing, how we are showing ourselves to the world relative to who we are, what we are doing with our life, what we are representing in our life with what we speak to, whether, you know, because now most people are on some kind of public social platform in some kind of way, you know, promoting this, promoting that, I'm this, I'm that, I do this, I give this, I offer this, you know, yada, yada, yada. And so in Aquarius, the invitation is to be authentic about whatever you are doing. And Mars gives us that courage to be authentic with what we are doing. And Pluto there is transforming. It's like an alchemical, deep, you know, like fast track cleansing, right, of all the old stuff that we can now rebirth within ourselves with Venus, what we love, our values, our self-worth, our creative joys and pursuits. With Mars, our personal willpower and drive and energy and focus and courage. You know, it's wonderful. It's an extraordinary passage, this one, actually. I can't speak to it enough, frankly. You know, there's so much more I could say, but I just wanted to bring just a few highlights, a few things to possibly consider. Because it is going to be felt and experienced differently for each of us. Of course, we are all unique individual souls at different points in our evolution, right? And this is happening at different points in people's birth charts, right? So all of those factors, of course, must come into this, and numerous other factors in your own individual chart as to how this might show up for you. But I'm just speaking to it more broadly from a general point of view. So I think we've got a lot of great things to yet discover, actually, discover about our own personal path of individuation and what is absolutely really authentic for us. And this becomes, I think, even more clear and more important as you get older. For people that are much, much younger, it might not be as obvious or as important, let's say. But then again, you know, the young people are going to have their own version of it in their own way, right? Their own experiences. So it's not to reduce the importance of it for younger people, but I'm merely pointing out that as you get older and you realize time is running out, right? You are more selective in your time, in your energy, in where you are going to give that, in what you are going to pay attention to, in, you know, what you're going to discard. And Venus in Aquarius, like I said before, she's trying to find her own worth, uniqueness, individuality, her own values that have nothing to do with the consensus reality. And what she does in that process is she eliminates and discards a lot of things because she's trying to get to that authentic place within herself. So these are, again, this is part of the picture of what's happening here. And the drive and passion and will is extreme. with Mars and Pluto being right there with our gorgeous, gorgeous lady, Venus. So, you know, I can't emphasize enough just how extraordinary these energies are. And it is up to us, you know, individually, how we choose to integrate these energies and, you know, how authentic we actually will be. You know, it takes guts to be authentic, actually. Because you might think that that sounds bizarre, because you might think that, well, being authentic is the best thing to do. And when something's not authentic, then, well, it's not, it's, you know, it's BS. It's not great. But the fact of the matter is that most things out there in the world, as they are presented, they're not authentic, including our food. It goes that far. It goes into our food, you know, the fake food that's being sold. There's so much inauthenticity on this planet. It's impossible to encapsulate in just a few words. But the point is that with these energies, we're able to, you know, we're able to become more objective, right? And see more clearly the bigger picture. Where is yeah. So see Pallas Athena here at 4 degrees of Sag. I wrote something about it on the community section. Some of you might have seen it, and on Facebook. But I think it's important to bring up here because Pallas Athena is the deity for the Venus morning star, the primary deity for the Venus morning star. Venus in Aquarius here, conjunct Pluto, conjunct Mars in Aquarius, is still the morning star. So this is really about doing something, really taking action towards something. What's the something? The something here speaks to your own authentic path and having the courage to stand for justice, to stand for truth, no matter what the apparent consequences. I've been noticing that a lot of actresses from Hollywood, and I really admire these people because they have spoken up on Palestine. They've been blacklisted from Hollywood. And Sarah Ramirez is one of them. Now, she's an actress that played in there was an old show called Sex in the City with Sarah Jessica Parker. A few years ago, they made and they revamped it and called it just like that particular show. And Sarah Ramirez is in that show as a main character. She's awesome. She's an awesome character. She's an awesome actress is what I meant to say. And her character was awesome in this show. And she's an advocate and a spokesperson for gay rights and movements and so on and so forth. And the whole LGBTIQ part of the world. She's a highly vocal person about human rights, in all those sorts of matters. And she's equally as vocal on Palestine. And so what the producers of that show did was that they cancelled her contract as soon as she started speaking about Palestine. And I admire her because she actually jeopardized her career to stand for what the fuck is right. To stand for what is right. Doesn't matter if you believe this religion or this culture or this value or this. No. It's about what's right on a humanitarian level. Let's get fucking clear on that. And that's what she had the courage to do at the cost of her career. There's not many people that are going to do that. That's obvious. Many others in Hollywood have done the same, by the way. I haven't seen others do it to the extreme and extent that she has, because she is out there every day in protests, in this and that and that, every day, nonstop. And I take my hat off to her. Because you know what that is? That is actually basically being non-selfish. And with Aquarius, we are asked to think about the world, humanity, not just our own personal needs and gratification and safety and security. Uranus, which is the planet that rules all these Aquarian energies, is not about safety. But what you must truly understand, and I've lived this, which is why I say it in a way that I've lived it, okay? It's not just theory. It's not just what I've read in books. I've lived this journey and I know it, and I know the power of it. And I can say this sincerely with conviction and authenticity for that reason. And that is that when you have the guts to step outside the little comfort zone, the exhilaration and freedom and extraordinary gifts and blessings and things that you can find in that journey will blow your fucking mind. But you have to have that courage to go there. And that's another thing that this Aquarian energy speaks to as well, because Aquarius is all about being real and authentic. Bottom line. So that's my passionate sharing for today. Passion is a great word for all this energy up here, even though Venus is not there yet in terms of as I speak today. But when you look at this alignment today, well, Venus is only 3 degrees away, isn't she, from Mars Pluto? 4 degrees to Mars, but 3 degrees to Pluto, or thereabouts, not even. So in other words, she is actually conjunct these planets anyway, out of sign, and she's approaching. So she's like really, really, at this end of this Capricorn journey, which activated the Capricorn Venus star point on the wheel. So where is that Capricorn Venus star point in your chart? She's, animated that star point and that part of your chart. And now she's going into, very shortly she'll be into Aquarius. So it's an interesting thing because, of course, both Aquarius and Capricorn are both ruled by Saturn, aren't they? But the difference between them, there are many actually, but one very obvious difference is that Uranus rules Aquarius. It doesn't rule Capricorn. So this is, it's time for the people. It's time for us individually to find our own authentic expression and align with that and commit to that. And it's also time for people to rise together, because as the saying goes, united, we are more powerful. Divided, we are disempowered. It's a fact. And it's up to us, it's up to us individually what we do. For me, speaking on truth, standing for justice and fairness and equality on no matter what issue it is, is more important than fearing that I will be excluded or judged or whatever. And, I say this to astrologers as well, because there are many astrologers who do not even go near this content. And you guys know that. And you know who does and you know who doesn't. And it is true that most of them will not. Because even in that community, even in that world, there are a lot of unconscious people and insecure people. Doesn't matter what field you go into, those elements in human beings are there. People in the astrological world or community might have more knowledge, but knowledge and wisdom are very different things. Just want to see. There's one comment that I wanted to read out of this book. Let's see. Yeah, this is just relative to the archetype of Aquarius, which we can apply this to any planet in Aquarius. And given that we have an abundance of Aquarius planets in sign of Aquarius at the moment, it's just, yeah, it's the basis of all of them. Aquarius, the sign Aquarius is to objectify in a non-emotional way the nature of reality at any level that one focuses on. In order to objectify anything, the ego within consciousness must separate itself from its own subjective reality. I've pretty much talked about all this in the last hour or so, but I'm just making a specific statement, and I'll tell you what book this is because I know you guys will ask. So let me just start that again and finish the whole sentence, and then I'll tell you what book it is. The sign Aquarius is to objectify in a non-emotional way. Listen to the words, non-emotional way, the nature of reality at any level that one focuses on. In order to objectify anything, the ego within consciousness must separate itself from its own subjective reality. That's a perfect description of the archetype of Aquarius, pure and simple. For this to happen, detachment becomes necessary. When consciousness is in a detached and objectified state from its own egocentric reality, it is then able to understand the overall nature and structure of any dynamic in its totality. That statement is the underpinning and the essence of the archetype of Aquarius. If you understand that, you'll understand what all these planets in Aquarius are speaking to. And really, it's just simply speaking to the ability to stand far back enough, detached enough, so that you can see beyond your little personal world, beyond your little personal perspective. That's what Aquarius is about. The book is by Jeffrey Wolf Green, and it's Relationships, Our Essential Needs. And just in case you want to see what it looks like. Okay. Yeah, I think Mercury square Uranus is going to bring up some pretty interesting things, because Mercury is approaching towards a conjunction to the sun, and it's a morning star at the moment, so it's going to transition it's going to go under the beams of the sun, called combustion and so on and so forth, which means it's Mercury getting ready to transition from morning star into evening star, right? So he's like, getting ready to finish his morning star phase. And just as he's preparing to get to that point, he's going to square Uranus. So I really feel that some mind-blowing revelations and truths are going to come out in the most unexpected ways, actually. And it's because it's Mercury dying, as it were, being reborn into an evening star. There's the truths that will come through, the revelations that will be spoken and heard will be part of our own process of actually, while Mercury transitions from morning to evening star, some type of, rebirth in our own consciousness as well, with the unexpected data or information that comes through, because it informs us to understand something else that we did not understand before, just to put it very, very simply. Okay, so I will leave it here for today, and I'll see you guys soon. I forgot to mention at the beginning, I always do. I've got a 12-week series that has already started, but we've only done the first class. So if you want to join that, you still can, because each class is being recorded. So even though you've missed the first class, you can watch the replay. So that's that. If you're interested and you want to know more about that, just reach out. Also reach out if you're interested in a personal reading. There's many different types of readings we can do. We can explore together. What else? And if you enjoy my work and appreciate what I give for free in my own time here on YouTube, then hit the super like button. Don't be shy. Hit it. I don't make money off YouTube. Just know that. For me to make money off YouTube, I need to have over 1 million subscribers, so to speak. And I don't. I have just a humble little 12,000 subscribers. So, supporting me is a good thing to do. If you do, benefit from what I share and the time that I give, and if you appreciate that, then show your appreciation to me. That would be appreciated by me. I'll see you guys very soon with much more. There's a lot more to talk about, but I wanted to bring in an introduction with some key themes and key points to consider with Mars, Venus, and Pluto in Aquarius. And I'll see you soon. Much love. Peace to all souls. And may everyone's eyes open wide to the truth.